Welcome back to Sanctuary fam, and if you're like me, a casual blaster juggling Diablo 4 with work, family, and education, this Spiritborn build is for you. And today we're covering the endgame Evade Eagle build. It's super easy to use, insanely fun, and absolutely capable of crushing all endgame Torment 4 content. Even if you don't have all the chaos uniques that you're looking for, I'll give you guys the best tips and tricks possible to get you on your way with the Spiritborn. And our first main ability is Thunderspike. This will give us our Storm Feather spam and our Evade cooldown reset. Thunderspike is the main source of damage. Then we have the Seeker, the cast as our ultimate. This is also going to give us some synergy with Storm Feather potency, which I'll discuss later. And to follow that up in no particular order, we have Armored Hide for our Unstoppable proc, and it also has some great aspect synergy, which I'll also talk about in just a bit. Then I'm going to group Scourge and Counterattacks into one pile simply because they both give us damage multipliers, one to crowd controlled enemies and one simply to crit damage. Now as for our last ability here, we have Concussive Stomp. This is really good to have on our bar because the more gorilla skills that we have in our bar is the better for Resilient. This is a flexible spot. You can put whatever you like here. This is simply what I'm doing just for this build. Now the combination of all our main abilities here help us shred through all the content in Torment 4. Now on to Chapter 2, let's talk about our key aspects. We have the aspect of unyielding hits for base weapon damage whenever we use a gorilla skill. Then we have the conceited aspect to simply give us a damage multiplier whenever we have barrier, and we have barrier a whole lot. Then moving up to our amulet here, we have the aspect of redirected force for a damage multiplier to critical strike damage. Now we have the flex spot here as well. We have the Vehement Brawler's aspect, which gives us a damage multiplier every time that we use the Seeker, which is our ultimate. If you want more vulnerable damage and a more AoE type of damage effect, you can go the Fell Soothsayer's aspect as well. Now the beauty of these aspects is they drop quite frequently, especially when you're pushing into Torment 3 and 4, so you don't have to worry about min-maxing too much. Next, for Chapter 3, we're moving over to our Spirit Halls, and this simply is just where the synergies come together. And by going a dual Eagle Spirit Hall, every ability becomes an Eagle type or Spirit type ability. And we also have the opportunity to cast Storm Feathers now with Eagle skills, and we also get a vulnerable damage multiplier. We can make enemies vulnerable, and we get a guaranteed crit every other attack. Just one Eagle Spirit Hall is enough to get this build rolling, but two is a game changer. Now for Chapter 4, we're going to talk about our Chaos Gear priority setup. Now for all my casual gamers out there, simply all you need is Wushu Nakpa and Loyalty's Mantle. Both of these items can be farmed from the lair bosses Gregoire, that's what I call him, and Lord Zir. Wushu Nakpa gives us a huge potency increase to our main Spirit Hall every time that we use the Seeker. Now you can see the Spirit Hall bonus that we're getting currently. We have about 1 million damage on our Storm Feather potency. However, when we use the Seeker, it goes up significantly every time that we use it. And as for Loyalty's Mantle, if your Spirit Halls match, you get 100% bonus to potency as well. And in combination with all our abilities, we can get quite high in terms of Storm Feather potency. 31 million. Now I want to reiterate here, the Wushu Nakpa Loyalty's Mantle combo is strictly for people that are trying to push through Torment 2 into Torment 3 and Torment 4. Now I'm not quite perfect. I do have some Chaos Uniques that supplement this build and definitely give me a little bit more damage, but this build is nowhere near complete. Now the ideal setup for Chaos Uniques, if you can farm and get them, is the Sunbird's Gorget. Then you want Fist of Fate. You also want Loyalty's Mantle, and if you can get Wushu Nakpa on your helmet, that's amazing. That way it frees up your two-handed weapon spot to apply another aspect that gives you a damage multiplier. I'd really like to see them improve the drop rate of Chaos Uniques, but let's move on to the next chapter. Now jumping over to Chapter 5, we have the Mobalytics Planner and our Paragon board. Now moving over to the Mobalytics Planner, we have 3 different versions of the Eagle Evade Spiritborn build. We have the leveling, the casual, and the blaster version of the build. We have a build summary, and we also have the leveling guide live on the channel if you guys want to go check that out. This video will be replaced by this video once this video is done, if that makes sense. As you can see here, we have the casuals guide. So this is if you're pushing through T3, T4, breaking your way through T2. We have the Loyalty's Mantle set up with the Wushu Nakpa. And I also have additional recommendations for Chaos Uniques and how to get those Chaos Uniques. And then we have the blaster version of the build here, and it shows you everything top to bottom, the best uniques, everything that you need to know about the Evade Eagle Spiritborn build. Now over to the Paragon board here. For our starter board, we're going the Spirit Glyph. This gives us a crit damage multiplier. Now moving over to our second board here, we're going Convergence and Fulminate. Fulminate will increase our lightning damage, which is Storm Feather damage, and then we have Convergence, which increases our elemental damage up to a 60 times multiplier. Moving over, we have Viscous Shield and Jagged Plume. Now, Jagged Plume increases our Storm Feather potency, which is what you want to focus on the most. And Viscous Shield will give us a damage multiplier based on how much barrier that we have. Moving down to the fourth board, we have Drive and Talon. Talon will increase the critical strike damage we deal with Eagle skills, and then we have Drive that increases our damage based on how fast and how far we move. And this is one zippy build. And then moving over to our final board here, we have Sapping and Canny. Sapping increases our damage based on how many different spirit type skills we use, all the way up to 60%. And Canny increases our non-physical damage. Now, Canny also stacks really well with Convergence because it gives us non-physical damage, which increases the damage multiplier. So once this video goes live, guys, please make your way over to Mobalytics, check out the build for yourself. Now on to chapter 6 here, we're going to go over the gems and runes. We're going to keep it simple here with emeralds in our weapon for critical strike damage. And then we're putting amethyst gems into our armor simply to give us barrier generation. Now jumping over to our amulet and our rings, we're putting skulls to increase our armor. Now armor gives us big damage reduction, but it synergizes so well with the aspect of unyielding hits. Now moving on to our runes here, you definitely want Chem Q. This is how we keep the uptime on barrier almost infinitely. And as expressed in the video, we have so many synergies with barrier. Now moving up to the chest piece, we have Neo and Cax or Quacks. Not sure how to say that one. Now Neo is awesome because we have such a high dodge percentage, we're always avoiding damage. However, for Quacks or Cax, you can simply drop that out for any other rune. Jaw is great if you can get your hands on it, and Zan is also a great supplementary rune. Now as for chapter 7, we're moving over to the Mercenaries. I'm going to keep this simple, guys. You want to go Subo simply because we get a critical strike damage multiplier. And then as for our backup reinforcement, we're going Varanya, so we get attack speed bonuses every time that we use Thunderspike. Now on to chapter 8, we're going to Chaos perks. Now as for our first Chaos perk, we're going Alacrity for a permanent evade reset. Moving on to our second Chaos perk, you can go Accelerating Chaos, Back Off, or you can go Chaotic Cooldowns. I believe Back Off is a highly underrated Chaos perk. Some people think it doesn't work with Thunderspike, but I see a damage increase every time that I use it. And on to our final Chaos perks, we're going a Beast Cornered and Marred Guard because they work so well in tandem. These are both risk-reward Chaos perks. We're draining half of our health simply for some damage mitigation. And a Beast Cornered increases the damage we deal based on how much health we're missing. Definitely one of the strongest combinations in the game. Now on to chapter 9, we're going over the Tempering and Masterworking. Now let's start with Tempering. On our rings and our Ami, simply all you want is Storm Feather potency. And you can also get Storm Feather potency on your gloves. And if you just so happen to have a two-handed weapon equipped, you can also get Storm Feather potency on your weapon. Now the secondary Tempering affix that you want to apply here is Primary Eagle Spirit Hall potency. And as for our rings and our amulet, you want Evade cooldown on your amulet, and as for the rings, you want Defensive cooldown. On the gloves, you can simply go Thunderspike size or Barrier generation. And again, if you need resistances too, feel free to put resistances on your armor as a temper. Now as for Masterworking, we want that triple crit on Storm Feather potency. And if we so happen to have the two-handed weapon, we want the triple crit on Primary Eagle Spirit Hall potency. Now guys, don't trip, you don't have to have the perfect Masterworking on all of your items. As you can see, all of mine are scattered all over the place. The benefit is this build absolutely slaps regardless. Now on to chapter 10, some gameplay of the build. We're going to go to tier 75 and try and push this in 2.5 minutes. Let's see what happens. So far, so good. 2.5 minutes. Let's go. And I figured, what the heck? Let's do Belial. So my final thoughts here is if you're short on time and you want big performance, this is the build for you. Chaos Uniques are dope, but you don't need a full set to thrive with this build. Drop a comment, let me know if, like me, you guys think the Chaos Unique drop rate is way too low. And don't forget to turn on your notifications because I got more Spiritborn builds coming for you. Well, that does it for me, Wanderers. I'll see you on the next one. I'm your boy Jajiro. Sign out for now. Peace.